Blind black girl with scary eyes walks the runway elegantly. What happened next surprised everyone. A few local blogs called her the Silent Storm. A viral video of her runway walk had been shared thousands of times. But with the spotlight came shadows. Some people couldn't believe she was blind. She's faking it for sympathy, one comment read. It's a ploy to get votes. Others said she wasn't fit, that her eyes made people uncomfortable, that she didn't meet the polished, curated standards the pageant world adored. She's not even pretty by normal standards, one radio caller sneered. This is beauty propaganda. The morning Miss Vivian found the baby at her doorstep, the world stood still for a second. Wrapped in a fraying pink cloth, the child lay silently in a woven basket, her eyelids fluttering like butterfly wings. And then they opened, two milky white eyes that seemed to look through the soul. Vivian gasped, her hands trembling slightly as she knelt to pick her up. "Oh, you poor, poor angel," she whispered, clutching the child to her chest. "What kind of mother would leave you like this?" The letter tucked under the baby's blanket was short and shaky. "Her name is Rita. I can't raise her. Her eyes scare me." Miss Vivian didn't flinch. She was in her early 50s, silver-streaked hair tied in a bun, skin kissed by years of sun, and a heart that had mothered every abandoned soul in her neighborhood. Though she'd never borne children of her own, her home was always full of laughter, scraped knees, and bedtime stories. From the moment Rita arrived, everything changed. People would stare when Vivian carried the child into the grocery store or walked her around the park. They whispered things like, "She's cursed," or, "Those eyes, they're unnatural." But Vivian would shut them down every time with a glare. "She sees more than you ever will," she once snapped at a cashier who flinched at Rita's eyes. By the time Rita was 12, there was something otherworldly about her. She had never seen a sunrise or known what color looked like, yet she moved with a grace that was uncanny. "She's blind," new teachers would ask, watching her walk through the school hallway without bumping into anything. "Yes," the principal would reply with a chuckle, "but you'd never believe it." Rita had senses that felt sharpened, honed by a force bigger than herself. She could detect the faint hum of a light bulb about to go out. She could sense when someone was standing behind her, even if they didn't make a sound. "3 steps to the left," she once told Miss Vivian in the kitchen, "you're about to step on the cat's tail." Vivian paused, stunned. The cat hadn't even meowed. Rita giggled softly. I could feel him breathing. She was always top of her class, especially in mathematics and physics. Her fingers traced braille faster than most people read print, and she could solve equations in her head that left her classmates speechless. But the most astonishing thing about Rita wasn't her intelligence. It was the way she moved. When she walked, her steps were fluid, balanced, perfect. It wasn't just confidence, it was art. Like her feet had memorized a rhythm that no one else could hear. One afternoon at a school talent showcase, the music teacher jokingly invited her to try the catwalk portion. "She can't see," someone whispered. "Isn't that dangerous?" But Rita stood and lifted her chin. "I want to try," she said softly. And when she took that first step onto the small stage runway, the entire auditorium held its breath. She walked with poise, her back straight, her feet landing in perfect sync with the beat playing through the speakers. Each stride was elegant, her arms relaxed, her face serene, like she belonged in a place far grander than a school auditorium. By the time she reached the end of the stage, the room erupted. "Is she really blind?" someone blurted out, stunned. Rita turned her head slightly, as though sensing the question midair. "I've always seen in my own way," she said with a small smile. "You don't need eyes to see beauty. You just need to feel it." Miss Vivian wiped a tear from the corner of her eye, whispering to herself. She was never cursed. She's a miracle. Miss Vivian's house was never quiet. Laughter echoed through its sun-dappled walls. 6 children, all different in story and age, had grown up under her roof, and they weren't just foster siblings. They were family. Rita was the youngest. The others used to call her Little Moon, because she glowed differently, gentle, mysterious, and bright in a way you couldn't explain. Careful with her, Andre, the eldest, used to warn the others when Rita was still toddling around, arms outstretched. "She's not fragile, but she's rare." They all adored her. She was the heart of the house. Malik taught her how to clap along to beats. Tasha read her books out loud until she memorized entire pages. Joy tied her shoes every morning until Rita insisted on learning by touch. "Rita, your eyes look like magic," little Elijah once said while braiding her hair. "Not scary, just deep." By the time Rita was in university, studying physics of all things, her siblings had long stopped seeing her as someone with a limitation. To them, she was the most capable of them all. She solved equations with the elegance of poetry, talked about wave-particle duality like it was bedtime conversation, and could tell you where you left your keys just by the sound of your voice. One night after dinner, she said it, casually, like saying she was going to try out a new hairstyle. "I want to be a model." The room fell silent. "Then, say less," Tasha said with a grin. "You're already walking like the air loves your feet." Andre raised his glass. "You're going to win. I don't even need to see the other girls." They all believed it. Every single one. And they were right. She entered the Regioner Modeling Competition, a prestigious event known for birthing top-tier talents across the country. The competition was fierce, girls with years of training, perfect cheekbones, and practiced runway walks. But no one walked like Rita. She counted every step in her head. 1, 2, 3. Her feet moved across the stage with precision. Not a single wobble. Her spine was aligned perfectly, chin lifted, lips neutral. She looked like a statue come to life, gliding across the runway. The judges leaned forward in disbelief. "She's blind," one whispered, checking her form notes. "She walks in a straighter line than most of the others. Her balance is unreal." The spotlight hit her face as she turned at the edge of the runway. Her white, glassy eyes shimmered under the lights, haunting, ethereal, powerful. There was silence for a full second before the audience exploded in applause. Miss Vivian was crying in the second row. Andre was shouting her name. Malik had lifted Elijah onto his shoulders, both of them screaming like it was the Super Bowl. And when the announcer finally called it, "The 2025 Regioner Model of the Year is Rita Iloan." She didn't cry. She smiled. "I always knew I could walk the line," she said in her speech, holding the mic steady. "The world taught me to stay in the shadows. But Miss Vivian taught me to count my steps. My siblings told me to believe in them." She paused. "And now I'm here. Not despite my blindness, but because of how I see." Rita was the youngest of 6 children raised in the warm, creaky old house that Miss Vivian made into a home. It smelled of cinnamon bread on weekends, lemon polish on weekdays, and love, the kind of love you don't question, even when it's loud or messy. Her siblings weren't just kids she grew up with, they were her protectors, her best friends, her biggest cheerleaders. Andre, the oldest, practically raised her arms like a boxing coach. Joy, with her calm wisdom, braided Rita's hair while whispering dreams into her ears. Malik played music for her and taught her to feel rhythm through the soles of her feet. Elijah gave her laughter. Tasha gave her courage. They called her Baby Moon because she lit up even the darkest nights. To them, Rita wasn't the blind one. She was simply the girl who knew which way the wind blew before it even arrived. Who could see you across a room just by the way you breathed. Who studied physics, of all things, because she wanted to understand how the universe moved. How she moved in it. One evening, over dinner, between bites of spicy jollof and bursts of laughter, Rita said it. "I want to be a model." No one laughed. Not one person doubted. Malik put down his fork. "Girl, have you seen the way you walk?" "Wait," he caught himself, and grinned. "I mean, you know what I mean." Tasha nodded fiercely. "You're going to shut that runway down." And so she did. At the Regioner competition, Rita stepped onto the stage with no guide, no cane, no fear. Her steps, counted in perfect rhythm, were like poetry in motion. 1, 2, 3, 4. She didn't miss a beat. The stage lights gleamed against her skin, and her white, glassy eyes held a fierce stillness, not hidden, but worn like a crown. She walked a line straighter than most could with both eyes wide open. The crowd was silent at first. Not from doubt, but awe. By the time she reached the end of the runway, her presence had swallowed the room. Then came the applause. Then the tears from Miss Vivian. Then the full-circle scream from her siblings in the second row. "That's our girl." She didn't just win the Regioner competition. She redefined what it meant to be seen. Not long after her Regioner victory, Rita stood in the kitchen with her siblings huddled around the worn counter, the same counter they'd all carved initials into growing up. She wiped her hands on a towel, took a deep breath, and said it like it was already written in the stars. "I want to be crowned the most beautiful girl in the country. Maybe even the universe." The room went quiet for half a heartbeat. Then Andre whistled low. "Shoot for the moon, huh?" "You are the moon," Joy whispered. They didn't laugh. They didn't scoff. Because if there was one thing they knew about Rita, it was that when she declared something, when she felt something, the world usually bent to meet it. At the state level, Rita began gaining publicity. She was being talked about in modeling circles. A few local blogs called her the Silent Storm. A viral video of her runway walk had been shared thousands of times. But with the spotlight came shadows. Some people couldn't believe she was blind. "She's faking it for sympathy," one comment read. "It's a ploy to get votes." Others said she wasn't fit, that her eyes made people uncomfortable, that she didn't meet the polished, curated standards the pageant world adored. "She's not even pretty by normal standards," one radio caller sneered. "This is beauty propaganda." It stung. Even when she didn't hear the words herself, her siblings did, and Miss Vivian did too. Do they think blindness disqualifies beauty? Elijah barked. Have they seen her spirit? Rita, on the other hand, remained eerily calm. She didn't fight their noise, she walked through it. I don't need their permission to shine, she said one evening while practicing her turn in the living room. I'm not here to fit into beauty. I'm here to reshape it. Tasha came over, gently adjusted Rita's shoulders. And that, she whispered, is why you will win. So Rita kept walking, with her head high and her steps counted in rhythm, just like always. Because the crown she was after wasn't just a tiara. It was a statement. Rita's face began to appear everywhere. First, it was a small local spread, a feature in N-Style Weekly, her white eyes glinting under soft light, her profile fierce yet still. Then came the glossy covers, Grace Magazine, Golden Woman, Modern Muse. Each shot was mesmerizing. She didn't smile with her mouth, she smiled with her presence. Her blind eyes, once feared, now captivated photographers. They pierce, one editor wrote, not because they see you, but because they make you look inward. Rita became a sensation. Articles titled, The Girl Who Sees Without Eyes, Beauty Rewritten, and Is She Really Blind, circled every social platform. Her walk was studied. Her eyes were debated. Her voice, calm, intelligent, sure, became a beacon for young girls who'd never seen themselves in pageants before. And yet, somewhere behind the lights and applause, behind the magazine features and the rising followers, Rita felt it. Exhaustion. The weight of proving herself every day. The constant buzz of doubters. The pressure to be more than extraordinary just to be seen as enough. One night, after a long interview and yet another accusatory headline questioning her blindness, Rita sat alone in her room, the same small room in Miss Vivian's house where her dreams first bloomed. She curled up on the floor, back against the wall, legs tucked in like a child. Her fingers trembled over the cover of a magazine that bore her face. I don't know if I can keep doing this, she whispered into the silence. She hated the feeling. The weakness. The creeping doubt. She'd come so far, but now she just wanted peace, to be Rita, not the blind model who defies odds. The door creaked. Tasha peeked in, then walked over wordlessly. She sat down beside her baby sister, leaning her head on Rita's shoulder. You're not alone, she said softly. I know, Rita said. But it's hard to carry what the world keeps throwing. Tasha reached into her pocket and pulled out Rita's very first competition photo, the one from Regioner. She placed it gently in her hand. Look at what you've already carried, she whispered. And you're still walking. And in that moment, Rita found it again, the spark. Not the spark of confidence. Something deeper. The why behind it all. She stood up slowly, rolled her shoulders back, and smiled, not for the camera, not for the fans, but for herself. I'm not giving up, she said quietly. And she didn't. The grand hall was glittering with gold, crystal chandeliers gleaming like captured stars. Cameras flashed. Voices echoed in waves. Nervous contestants in gowns clutched the edges of their dresses, glancing around at the crowd. And in the center of it all stood Rita, in a flowing midnight blue gown that shimmered like the cosmos. Her posture was calm. Her head held high. Her milky white eyes unblinking, glowing beneath the stage lights. She didn't come alone. Behind her, seated in the front row, were the 6 people who built her world. Miss Vivian, hands clasped tightly, a glimmer of tears in her eyes. Andre, stone-faced with pride. Joy, mouthing prayers. Malik and Elijah, arguing over who cried first when she walked out. Tasha, holding Rita's cane in her lap like a relic, because Rita didn't need it tonight. She had her family, and she had her vision. As Rita walked the stage, the music swelling around her, the crowd fell silent, not out of politeness, but awe. She moved as though the floor followed her. Every step, counted and deliberate. Her walk wasn't just graceful. It was purposeful. Unshaken. Radiating a kind of power no tiara could match. When it was time for the finalists to speak, Rita stepped up to the microphone. She didn't need to see the thousands of faces watching. She felt them, the tension, the expectations, the disbelief, and the hope. She took a breath. And spoke from the heart. People ask me how I do it, she began, voice steady, warm. How a blind girl dares to enter a beauty pageant. How I walk the runway. How I see the world. She paused. But the truth is, I don't need eyes to see beauty. Because beauty isn't on the surface. It's an energy. A light you carry. A truth you hold. It's how you walk into a room believing you belong, even when no one's ever looked at you like you do. Her siblings watched, breathless. I'm not here just to win a crown, she continued. I'm here because I am beautiful. Not in spite of my blindness. But because I finally believed I was. And if you know you are beautiful, the whole world will see it too. The silence was electric. Then came the standing ovation. Applause like thunder. Cheers like rainfall. A wave of emotion so strong, it rippled across the hall. And when the host finally opened the golden envelope and announced, "The most beautiful girl in the country is Rita Eloan," the roof nearly lifted. Miss Vivian burst into tears. Andre stood and screamed. Tasha and Joy hugged and jumped. Malik lifted Elijah into the air like a trophy. Rita stood on the stage, a crown of gold resting against her braided hair, and a sash gently sliding over her chest. She smiled with her soul. That night, Rita didn't just win a title. She gave the world a new definition of beauty. One born not from symmetry or skin tone, but from self-worth, grace, and the courage to believe. She was no longer the blind girl with scary eyes. She was a symbol of impossible turned real. She was Rita Eloan, and she redefined what it meant to be seen.